Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Before Lessons of the Time-Traveling Cafe. Chapter 1. The Legend of Funiculi Funicula, A Cup of Impossible Time. Deep in a narrow back alley of Tokyo, tucked away from the neon glare of Shinjuku and the thrumming pace of the modern world, there is a basement cafe. It has no windows, only 3 clocks on the wall, each showing a different time, and a thick, comforting scent of roasted coffee beans that has seeped into the very wood of the furniture over decades. This is Funiculi Funicula. To a casual passerby, it is merely a charmingly dated relic of a bygone era. But to those in the know, it is a place where the laws of the universe bend, just for a moment, for the price of a single cup of coffee. Welcome to our deep immersion exploration of Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Originally written as a play before being adapted into the international best-selling novel we know today, this story is not your typical time travel epic. There are no machines, no paradoxes that threaten to unravel reality, and no grand adventures. Instead, it is an intimate, quiet meditation on regret, love, and the things we wish we had said when we had the chance. The legend of the cafe is simple. There is a specific seat that allows a person to travel back in time. But as with all things involving the supernatural, there are rules. These rules are so frustrating, so restrictive, that most people hear them and decide the journey isn't worth the effort. First, you can only meet people who have actually visited the cafe. If you want to see your grandmother who never left her village, you are out of luck. Second, no matter what you do or say in the past, the present will not change. If you go back to prevent a breakup, the breakup will still have happened when you return. If you go back to save someone from an accident, they will still be gone. Third, you must sit in the specific chair. It is currently occupied by a woman in a white dress, a ghost, who only leaves once a day to go to the restroom. You must wait for her to move, and you cannot force her. Fourth, you cannot leave the chair while in the past. And fifth, the most important rule of all, you must drink the coffee before it gets cold. If you don't, you will become the new ghost, trapped in that chair forever. Why would anyone go back if they can't change the outcome? That is the question at the heart of Kawaguchi's work. As we sit in the dim light of Funiculi Funicula, we are about to witness 4 souls who decided that even if they couldn't change the what, they desperately needed to change the how. They needed the closure that only a few minutes of impossible time could provide. Pause for atmosphere, the sound of a clock ticking. This chapter sets the stage for a journey into the human heart. We meet the staff, Kazu, the enigmatic waitress who pours the coffee with a precision that feels almost ritualistic, and Nagare, the hulking but gentle owner. They are the keepers of the gate, watching as people grapple with the weight of their own histories. As we move forward, we will see that while the coffee always gets cold, the warmth of the words exchanged can last a lifetime. Chapter 2. The Lovers. Fumiko, Goro, and the Weight of Pride. Fumiko is a woman of the modern age, highly intelligent, impeccably dressed, and a rising star in her career. She is the kind of person who has a plan for everything. But as she sits in the cafe, she is falling apart. A week ago, in this very spot, her boyfriend Goro told her he was leaving for a dream job in America. Instead of telling him she loved him, instead of asking him to stay or promising to wait, her pride took over. She acted indifferent. She let him walk out of the door and out of her life with a single honest word. This is the first story of the cafe, The Lovers. Fumiko is the hook that pulls us into the reality of the cafe's magic. She is desperate. She wants to go back to that conversation. She wants to scream, to beg, to change the fact that he left. When the woman in the white dress finally stands up to use the restroom, Fumiko scrambles into the seat. Kazu approaches with the silver kettle. The steam rises in a delicate swirl, and as the coffee is poured, Fumiko feels the world begin to shimmer. The air turns liquid, a dizzying sensation of being submerged, and then silence. She is back. Goro is sitting across from her, just as he was a week ago. The tragedy of Fumiko's journey is her immediate realization of the rules. She wants to tell him not to go, but she knows he still will. She tries to find the words, but the ticking of the clock is like a hammer. She sees him again, his ambition, his nervousness, his love for her that he is trying to hide behind his own professional goals. In this moment, Kawaguchi explores the wall of pride. How often do we lose the people we love because we are afraid of looking vulnerable? Fumiko realizes that her career success is cold comfort compared to the warmth of Goro's presence. She finally speaks. She doesn't ask him to stay. She respects him too much for that. But she tells him how she truly feels. She strips away the armor of the successful woman and shows him the person who is heartbroken. Even though the present doesn't change, even though she returns to a reality where he is still across the ocean, something fundamental has shifted. Fumiko is no longer haunted by the what if. She has replaced her regret with a memory of honesty. She has the strength to wait for him now, because she knows that he knows. This chapter teaches us that time travel isn't about rewriting history, it's about rewriting our relationship with it. Fumiko drinks her coffee while it is still steaming, returning to her life with a heart that is no longer burdened by the unspoken. She is the first to prove that the heart can be healed even if the circumstances remain the same. Chapter 3. The Married Couple. Kotake, Fusagi, and the Memory of Water. If the first story was about the fire of young love and pride, the second story is a gentle, heartbreaking exploration of the fading embers of a lifelong partnership. Kotake is a nurse, a regular at the cafe. Her husband, Fusagi, is also a regular, but he sits at a different table every day. He stares at the wall, lost in a world that Kotake can no longer enter. Fusagi has early onset Alzheimer's. He has forgotten that Kotake is his wife. He treats her with the polite distance of a stranger. Kotake's story is titled The Married Couple, and it is perhaps the most emotional arc in the book. Fusagi has been carrying a letter for years, a letter he meant to give to Kotake before his memories began to slip away like sand through his fingers. He can no longer remember what the letter says, or even that it is meant for her. Kotake decides to use the chair. She doesn't want to go back to a time of grand romance. She wants to go back to the day before he forgot her name. She wants to see the look in his eyes when he still knew who she was. The sensory descriptions in this chapter are vivid. The smell of the coffee is mixed with the clinical scent of the hospital where Kotake works, a reminder of the reality she faces every day. When she travels back, she finds Fusagi sitting there. He looks up, and for the first time in months, his eyes crinkle with recognition. "Kotake," he says. The sound of her name from his lips is like a miracle, but the clock is ticking. Fusagi hands her the letter. In it, he expresses his fear of the coming darkness. He tells her that when he forgets her, he doesn't want her to stay out of a sense of duty. He wants her to be happy. He wants her to continue being a nurse, to continue being the vibrant woman he fell in love with. In the past, Kotake realized that she had been grieving for a man who was still sitting right in front of her. She had been so focused on what was lost that she had forgotten how to love what remained. She returns to the present, and though Fusagi still doesn't recognize her, she sits down next to him. She takes his hand. She is no longer just his nurse. She is his wife again, even if she is the only one who knows it. This chapter asks us, what is the essence of a person? Is it their memory, or is it the love they've left behind in others? Kotake's journey shows that love is a choice we make every day, regardless of whether it is reciprocated or even remembered. She drinks her coffee, the liquid bitter and sweet, a perfect metaphor for her life. Chapter 4. The Sisters, Hirai, Kumi, and the Shadow of Responsibility. The third story takes us out of the realm of romantic love and into the complex, often fraught territory of siblings. Hirai is a vibrant, somewhat flashy woman who runs a bar near the cafe. She is the black sheep of her family. Years ago, she ran away from her home in Sendai to avoid the crushing responsibility of taking over her parents' traditional inn. She left the burden to her younger sister, Kumi. Kumi has been visiting the cafe for years, trying to convince Hirai to come home. Hirai always hides. She is ashamed, but she is also fiercely protective of her freedom. She treats Kumi with a flippant coldness, avoiding the reality of the sacrifice her sister has made. Then, tragedy strikes. Kumi dies in a car accident on her way home from one of her unsuccessful attempts to see Hirai. The weight of this guilt is a physical thing that threatens to crush Hirai. This is the sisters. Hirai realizes that she has spent years running away from a sister who only ever wanted her happiness. She decides to use the chair. She wants to see Kumi one last time. She wants to apologize. She wants to tell her that she will finally come home and take over the inn, to free Kumi's spirit from the burden she left her. As Hirai sits in the chair, the atmosphere of the cafe feels different. It is heavy with the scent of rain, the rain that was falling on the day Kumi died. When she travels back, she sees Kumi sitting there, clutching a guidebook of Tokyo. She is excited. She has so much to tell Hirai. The interaction is agonizing. She wants to hold her, to tell her to stay, to warn her about the car, but she can't. She can only be there. She sees the genuine, pure love in Kumi's eyes, a love that never held a grudge, never felt like a martyr. Kumi wasn't trying to trap Hirai. She just missed her sister. Hirai finally says the words, "I'm sorry," but Kumi just smiles. She already knew. Returning to the present, Hirai doesn't just return to her bar. She closes it. She packs her bags. She goes back to Sendai to honor her sister's memory by taking up the mantle she once despised. The present hasn't changed. Kumi is still gone, but Hirai is a different woman. She has found her sense of duty, not out of guilt, but out of love. This chapter asks us, what is the shadow we cast on those closest to us? We often assume people harbor resentment when they are actually offering grace. Hirai's story is a powerful reminder that it is never too late to do the right thing, even if the person you are doing it for is no longer there to see it. Chapter 5. The Mother, K, the Future, and the Circle of Life. The final story in the novel brings the focus back to the cafe itself, specifically to Kei, the wife of the owner, Nagare. Kei is a woman of immense kindness and a fragile heart, literally. She has a heart condition that makes her life precarious. When she discovers she is pregnant, the doctors tell her that the strain of childbirth will likely kill her. She is faced with an impossible choice, her life or the life of her unborn child. This story is titled The Mother, and it flips the entire premise of the book. While the others wanted to go to the past, Kei wants to go to the future. She wants to know if her choice was the right one. She wants to see if her daughter grew up happy. The rules for the future are even more mysterious. Since she can only meet people who have visited the cafe, she hopes that in 15 years, her daughter will walk through those doors. Kei sits in the chair. The shimmer of time is different this time. It feels like a sunrise rather than a sunset. When she arrives in the future, the cafe looks much the same, but there is a young girl sitting at a table. She is 15. She has Nagare's eyes and Kei's smile. The conversation that follows is the emotional climax of the book. The girl doesn't know who she is at first, but as they talk, the realization dawns. This is a meeting across a threshold that should be impossible. Kei sees that her daughter is healthy, that she is loved, and that she has grown up in the warmth of the cafe. Kei realizes that her sacrifice was not a tragedy, it was a gift. She sees that life continues in ripples. Even though she won't be there to see her first steps or her first day of school, her love is the very foundation of the girl's existence. Returning to the present, Kei is no longer afraid. She knows the outcome, and she accepts it with a peace that surpasses understanding. She spends her remaining time making sure the cafe is a place of joy, preparing for the future she has already seen. As we close the book on Funiculi Funicula, we are left with a profound sense of the now. Tokuzaku Kawaguchi's masterpiece reminds us that time is a river, and while we cannot swim against the current, we can choose how we float. We can choose to be honest, to be kind, and to speak the words that matter before the coffee gets cold. The 4 stories, the lovers, the couple, the sisters, and the mother, are all variations on a single theme, heart. We move through life with so much baggage, so much regret, but the magic is always available to us. We don't need a special chair or a ghost to tell someone we love them. We only need to realize that our time is always ticking away. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive journey into the quiet, magical world of Before the Coffee Gets Cold. If you found this exploration of regret and redemption meaningful, and if you want to discover more stories that touch the soul, please like this content and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows us to keep exploring the books that change the way we see the world. Whatever you do today, make sure you say what needs to be said. Don't wait. After all, the coffee is cooling as we speak. Thank you.